It's a dream for every boxer to fight in Vegas, so it's great to have this opportunity. But it is important that I shine under the lights. Barros is a former WBA champion, a big puncher with an unorthodox style. I can't afford to take my eye off the ball. He's very dangerous and will be coming in as a hungry underdog. It's his chance to regain a world title, but I'm not going to let that happen. The main thing, of course, is to win, and after that, look at the different outcomes. If I look good, then I want the winner of Frampton and Santa Cruz. Ideally, I will get that fight, and I think that's why I'm on the show. It's natural for people to compare the winners of our fights. The first fight was a brilliant one. I was at ringside for it, and it was pretty even throughout. At the final bell, I couldn't split them, and I think the next fight will be the same, although Santa Cruz might have a slight advantage with it now being in Las Vegas. Of course, I want Frampton to win as a fellow British fighter, and hopefully we can get it on down the line. It's a super fight and the kind I want to be involved in. Those are the words of IBF featherweight world champion Lee Selby, obviously talking about the upcoming fight this weekend, the rematch between Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz. He's hoping Frampton wins. I'm sure not just because of any type of patriotic allegiance to the British-Irish fighter in Carl Frampton, but also because he understands that it will be a massive fight financially to fight Carl Frampton. I'm not sure Lee Selby has a particularly big following in Wales or the United Kingdom in general, but Carl Frampton certainly does. And with it being a unification, it would be a bonanza. It would almost certainly take place in Ireland, probably at a football stadium, if it were to happen. And yeah, it'd be a very, very big event. So those are the words of Lee Selby. Now, what do you think of Lee Selby's fight coming up on the weekend? I'd like to hear from you guys about that. Do you think there's a potential banana skin there, or do you think he should be able to take care of business relatively easily against Barros? And how highly do you rate Lee Selby? Do you think he can beat the likes of a Leo Santa Cruz or a Carl Frampton? I saw an interview the other day with Eddie Hearn on IFL, and he was talking about the possibility of actually matching Lee Selby with Scott Quigg. And personally, I think that's a good match. Scott Quigg's only loss, as far as I'm aware, I'm sure he was unbeaten going into the Frampton fight, unless he lost the fight earlier on in his career, which I don't think he did. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But I believe he was unbeaten going into the Frampton fight. So that's his only loss so far. That's not a disgrace. He didn't get blown out of the water by Frampton. Yes, he lost a lot of the early rounds. He suffered a broken jaw, but he came on strong late in the fight. And yeah, he definitely lost, but it wasn't a disgrace by any means. So with that being his only loss, I don't see why he's not a viable opponent for Lee Selby, because you could then compare Selby's performance against Scott Quigg to Carl Frampton's performance against Scott Quigg and say, if Selby does a better job, you could say, well, there really is an argument here, and that would set up the Lee Selby, Carl Frampton fight very, very nicely. But we've got to get past these fights on the weekend first before we can even entertain that. And Carl Frampton's rematch against Leo Santa Cruz could turn out to be more difficult than the first fight. I'll discuss that in another video. But for this video, let me know what you think about Lee Selby and how he would do against any of the fighters I've mentioned. All right? Drop your comments below. It's Hatman, I'm out.